Hey everyone, Milsurp Garage. I got something new to bring you today, but would have made a video anyway if not just to commemorate. Today is the anniversary of D-Day, 70 years ago today, and I think it's appropriate since I do these videos on these military surplus weapons to say thanks for all those who gave so much for our freedom that sometimes we take for granted these days, and to realize how much the people that gave for us really gave, because these days people, you got a car parked in front of your house that you don't know whose car it is for a couple of days, and you get bent and you feel like you're being victimized, but you imagine what the people who lived in Europe during those times, especially, and our guys who all got together and went so far away to preserve freedom, in the name of freedom. You don't feel like any of these conflicts that are fought these days are really fought for freedom. You feel like there's all these ulterior motives and agendas and corporations involved with this and that, and you wonder what's even going on over there, but back then you'd watch so much being taken over by a dictator who was pretty scary, and we feel like we're so far away from Europe, but when that starts happening you really wonder when are we next? It doesn't take much to sail across that ocean and come over here. So, because of these people, we get to enjoy these weapons today, and get to live in such a beautiful country where we could even be sitting here and on such a beautiful sunny day making videos about them. And what I'm bringing to you is the 03 Springfield. Now, the 03 Springfield was one of those guns for me. It was one of those, this hobby is all about patience and missed opportunities. That's really what it comes down to, because, you might want a certain gun, and you have to balance being patient enough to find the one that you're looking for, because they're all so different. They all have their own qualities and their own character, their own levels of originality and condition. Excuse me. But, you have to balance that with missed opportunity, where you could see something and pass on it and think that maybe there's something better on the horizon, and then it could be that down the line you really wish you would have gone with the one you were looking at, because you don't want to feel ever like you're settling for one that's not as good as one that you saw previously for maybe even less money, if the money thing is important to you. Now this guy, I was waiting. I wanted a Rock Island, and I didn't want to deal with any of those issues with the receivers, receivers that weren't heat treated properly. Which, if you're unaware of this, a whole debacle with these things, you could do research. Even Wikipedia has a nice page on it where they talk about it. But there's information all over the place about these. That's what's really cool about them, is that there's a billion different websites that break down every little number and code. There's just a lot of interest, so you can gather a lot of information. If you want to gather a lot of that information before you go shopping, could help. Or if you just want to look for one that you like, just by the looks of it, which is dangerous to do with these, and then do your research afterwards, researching everything. I mean, you don't have to know every little teeny code or inspection guy or whatever if you're going to shop, but you definitely want to research the serial numbers and the ranges, just to make sure you're getting one in an area that you're comfortable with. The very early serial numbers had issues with the metallurgy of the receivers, and although it was very rare, and it may have been slightly blown out of proportion as to exactly how serious of an issue this was, there was an issue. You know what I mean? So, like, why even go there? If they're telling you that certain receivers didn't receive the proper heat treatment process, or potentially didn't, and then after a certain serial number you're okay, and if this is coming like from everyone, like this is just really written in stone the way it is, why not just get one that they say is going to be okay? All things being equal, you know, the guns aren't really any different. You know what I mean? It's just that they're the older ones. So if you're really into the collecting end of this, where it's like a low number one, a very early production one turns you on, but you don't really do much shooting, or you don't really care if you do no shooting with that one, I say then no problem, you could go for it, because it's really just from a shooter's standpoint. I happen to be a shooter. I buy these things and I shoot them like crazy. I don't even care if it's original. I shoot the barrel out of it and I had to replace the barrel. That would be an honor to actually shoot out the original barrel in something like this, and then it'd have to be rebarreled, whatever. You know, it's like, yeah, you worry about the originality, but it's original to me. You know what I mean? You'd replace it. I don't know if I put a brand new barrel on it, but I'd find a barrel that, you know, was around the same age, sort of, and that wasn't shot out to put it on. But getting sidetracked, it's important to do at least a little bit of research on this one, actually, before just grabbing it. Now, I wanted Rock Island. I wanted it after the proper receivers were being made. But then the thing with Rock Island, that this I didn't know till after, you know. So this I found out afterwards. I found one. I found the Rock Island in the condition that I wanted. That was serial numbered, where it was in the good range. And then that's when I jumped. I was like, yeah, this one looks good for me. It's right where I want it. I'm there. And only found out afterwards that the later serial numbers of the Rock Islands, they started to send all those parts to Springfield. And the thing about the Rock Island one, I don't know where it is. I have nothing against Springfield. I love Springfields, you know. But for some reason, I wanted a Rock Island one of these. And I was really into the Rock Island originality. It just seemed like a cool place. Just doing a little research on that Rock Island facility itself, you know, and how they started making these there. Just it just got me interested. Like I was like, I want a solid Rock Island one, you know. I want a real deal one. But apparently these parts were sent to the Springfield factory later on, when they kind of closed Rock Island. They had a whole bunch of these Rock Island parts, and they sent them over to Springfield to put them together. So you're basically getting like a Rock Island that was put together at Springfield. This was re-arsenaled, and we'll get to that later. This was re-arsenaled by Springfield. But I did want one. I was glad to find out, when reading my numbers, that I had one that was early enough to have been all put together at Rock Island and shipped out of there before they closed. Yet late enough where it was after the heat treatment problem thing. So it's like just right in the perfect range. So I would do that kind of research. And then I wanted a proper bayonet. I was so into the originality. The bayonets for these that would be correct would be the longer one. I think these are 16 inches. They're like the non-cut down ones, you know. And I researched, I just looked everywhere. Looking around, let's see if I can get that on there. Yeah, see, it's RIA 1918. Because and we'll get to that. I'm going to break down the specifics, the specifications of this thing, and give you all the information I have. But it's a 1918 production gun. So that's how, and I wanted a Rock Island bayonet, you know what I mean? So this took a while to find, this bayonet. They're out there. These things are approaching $200 when they're in this nice shape. But I got a pretty good deal on this one because I had no scabbard, and I'm going to have to come up with a scabbard for it. But even just right then, I was just happy to get a nice one, you know, a nice looking 1918 Rock Island, which is, I was looking for that exact year and everything. So. But these are out there. If you're into like the originality of having the bayonets, there are aftermarket ones, but just poke around, and I think it'd be better. The aftermarket ones aren't really that much more than a decent shape, one that's in decent shape. Now, if you want specifics like 1918 Rock Island, you might pay a little bit more. You know what I mean? But just to get a general one, you know what I mean? They're not that bad. And also for these things, I buy the Swedish Mauser. The 6.5 by 55 stripper clips. They look like this inside. They have like that bent spring steel in there, and these things are awesome. They fit the 3006, and for ammo, of course, PPU. I've been to that. I have a video on that. I use my PPU specially made for the M1 Garand ammo, and it's not crazy hot. You know what I mean? So one more reason why you don't have to worry too much about, you know, an older rifle that had some issues. You know, you just kind of want to, just from what I'm reading, like, you know, you need to be a little bit gentle with these guys as far as cylinder pressures. You know what I'm saying? Although it is the Mauser design, I've never heard of issues with Mausers with you know, receivers failing. You know what I mean? So it's nice to just be kind of gentle with these without shooting like Remington core locked or something in it, you know what I mean? And actually just using like a kind of like a milder round. The stripper clips come in boxes like this. You can get them, they're mad cheap. Like you get a box of 40 of them for like $15 or something. They're crazy cheap, $10 maybe even. Forgot the company that sells them, but look around, you'll find them. Okay, so the deal with this guy. We'll do a closer look first. Got the Care Sling here, an original. I have one on my 1917 and I have one on here. I wanted originals of these Cares. The aftermarket ones aren't bad. They really do look nice. I opted for originals. To find originals in nice shape is hard, and then to not, find someone that's asking a crazy price is hard too. I got lucky twice. And when they sent them to me, they were real. There's ways to tell. You can look online. There's things to check. The aftermarket ones are so close to looking like these. Actually, they're in such good quality that they actually have to have websites to show what little things to look for to tell if it's original or an aftermarket. You know what I mean? So these aftermarket ones are nice. Just make sure you get one of the nice aftermarket ones if you get it. Research that and find out who makes a good one, because there are really good ones. But the originals are out there, and they're interesting. They're an interesting, unique kind of sling. I like them. This guy has cartouches and marks on it, stuff that I had to sit and decode. Don't know what's going to come out. See, there's an S.A.D.A.L right there on the stock, and a couple of other inspection marks. Look at all the dings and scratches. There is a, and it's not counterboard, nice crown on it. There is a, looks like this, a sight shroud that you can clip on here, and it is it is original equipment. I don't know if this is actually an original one, I'm not sure. It's got a flaming bomb on it, US, but I don't like it on there anyway. I actually like the sight just open like this anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And this would be the other side. Lots of nice deep gouges on this side too, a couple of them right here. Look at those. Oh, those hurt. And you have your storage area back here. I keep a oiler in there that actually has oil in it. I know that's not the correct one. I know it's supposed to be brass, but I have one of those for my Australian Mark 1. But the ones for this I see them, they're just too expensive for me. I'll run into one somewhere and not pay a fortune for it. But these things are, the Mauser design. It's almost identical design to the Mauser. We basically just stole it. We just stole it. The only things that are unique to these are a magazine cutoff here in the center is what this position you use to remove the bolt, and then down would be a magazine cutoff. The bolt doesn't quite move back far enough to uncover the head of the next round. As a matter of fact, it doesn't even uncover the follower, the magazine plate there, so you don't even have to hold the plate down to cycle the bolt. All it really does is stop the bolt short. But just back then, they were still into that whole, single fire thing, and don't open up the magazine and fire from the magazine unless some sergeant rang a bell or something. They were all into like this whole marksmanship thing, one round at a time. But it was right after this was the end of that. By the time they started to moving into other rifles like the 1917 and the M1 Garand, they were long done with any types of magazine cutoffs. They were actually trying to fire more rounds faster instead of fewer rounds and slower, And the sight is interesting. There's like 8 million different reticles to look through on this thing. It's crazy. When you stand it up, you're even looking at this guy. See that one right there? So when you stand it up, you're using this bottom one. Then you have this one here. You have one up on top. They're all over the place. There's like 1,000 reticles on this thing. But this is very, very fragile. I was lucky enough to get one of these in good shape. Can't say as much for this front barrel band though. This front barrel band here had taken a shot this way. Boom. That completely bent it down. Scarred up the wood, if you could see that underneath here. And I wasn't really so much worried about the wood. When I saw it, it didn't have this sling on it, and this barrel band was basically destroyed, bent all the way down, totally twisted. So that's why I got it for a good price. You know, that was the one thing that I'm sure knocked the price down a few $100s from where this thing really should have been, and made it actually really affordable, and that's why I jumped on it. And I knew I could fix this, and I was determined. I didn't realize how strong the steel actually was. It was much stronger than I thought. And when I tried to bend this back into place, I realized it was going to be very tough with the tools I was using and the procedure I was using because of how strong it was. So found another way, and swapped stuff all around, and went nuts with tools to get everything set up properly, and was actually able to straighten this thing over the course. So, you know, I'd work on it a little bit here and there, and over the course of a few weeks, got it to look just fine. And it was really, at some point I was like, you know what, I'm just going to get one from Numrich, that's it, forget it, you know what I mean? But I really was committed to using this original one for some reason, which might not actually be original to the rifle, but it, you know, I didn't want to have to swap it, because I was convinced I could do it, and I did it. Made it look nice. Didn't really do much to repair the wood underneath. I'm not, you know, not really going to mess with that. I don't want to go too crazy with this stock or change anything. The patina of it is just so nice, so I don't want an area that's a different color. So I just left it. But as long as I have this sling swivel straight, and this moves, and it's straight and everything like that, I'm happy. You know, so you really wouldn't know anything even happened there unless you really looked at it really close and saw the wood damaged. Yeah, at the range, these things are awesome. Look at this rig with the bayonet. I mean, these things are scary. This was, you know, still trench warfare going on, and they were serious about their bayonets, man. They really were. You wanted to be way back down inside that trench and still be able to do some damage to somebody that's, you know, poking their head over trying to shoot you or whatever. It's a pretty serious rig. And they shoot nice, these things. You know, you get a little bit more punch than a M1 Garand, just because it's bolt action. But they're very smooth to cycle, and they feel really nice to shoot, and decently accurate. Now let's see, the information I have on here before I go is manufacture date was 1918. Re-arsenaled by Springfield Armory, August 1931, and you get those dates up here.